We started with the neighborhood policy sort of after the collapse of the Berlin Wall and the enlargement of the European Union in 2004 and 2007. And that was sort of a time where we thought, okay, democracy and more freedom and more liberalism in all ways of the word is something that is just naturally happening. The long arch of history bends that way. We only need to help it along a little bit. And then after many years of peace, I mean, there was September 11 and the Taliban in Afghanistan, but generally it was peaceful and democratic around Europe. So we kind of took it for granted and didn't see the need to actually invest in civil society and democracies and in trade and relations with our neighborhood. So we've had the neighborhood policy for decades now, but we haven't actually put the money where the big speeches are. So we need to actually mean it properly and invest in it and have long-term investments, because also the European foreign policy and neighborhood policy has been too short-sighted. If you look at what happened after the Arab revolutions, we then said, oh, we need to have more of collaboration with the North African Levantine countries around the Mediterranean, but nothing much has happened, and the individual member states and industries in those countries have a more of an interest in keeping up good relations with companies, petrol, governments to sell arms and buy petrol in these countries, and also to maintain sort of old colonial relations. And that, I think, is really detrimental to the neighborhood policy. We need to not only say that we want democracy and stability, but to actually do it. And we need to engage in proper partnerships with these countries as well, because I see, especially in Western, this is a little bit beyond the neighborhood, but in Western Africa, for example, Denmark is doing a lot, but they're only doing a lot in order to say, well, we don't want migrants coming to Denmark. So if you stop migrants, then we'll give you money. And that's not the way that you promote democracies. You promote democracies by supporting civil society and human rights.
All right, Carla. I mean, yes, the EU is only one part of the equation. That's quite clear. And there's other actors. But I think that's why it's even more important for us to be proactive and not just reactive in our external policy. I know we have our differences, but I think in this new world order, we have more things that bring us together in the European Union than tear us apart, democracy being the number one. So I think we still have a big role to play, Carla.
I think that you're right that the EU shouldn't get engaged militarily in conflicts, but we need to have a much stronger neighborhood policy and have relations with our neighbors around Europe so that we can prevent some of these conflicts. Because if we're not supporting civil society and democracies in our neighboring countries, then authoritarian leaders and more polarized politics where minority groups are not being listened to can result in conflicts. And I really think that we should support a democratic, peaceful future for all of our neighbors around Europe. But that requires that we're a lot more active and that we invest in this, because peace doesn't come for free.
Well, thank you for the question. And Jovan, I'm not sure. I mean, what does it mean to stay out of conflicts? I mean, do we sacrifice our values and our belief in democracy? And do we not take sides when we have friends? And how far does that go? I mean, if there is a conflict in our neighborhood, and this is not just because I'm Greek and we have these issues with Turkey, if there's a conflict in our neighborhood, shouldn't the EU take the side of its members? Shouldn't the EU protect us? So I think that there's limits to this, but at the same time, neutrality is not the best way to achieve, let's say, geopolitical status and power. And I think it's very important for Europe to go in that direction in the near future.